I don't know what the deal is, but my videos have not been working lately, like recording them. So my recording software, my computer. So today's video is gonna be recorded on my phone. Hopefully you all can hear me, okay? If not, leave some feedback in the comments below so I can fix my audio much later. But forgive me if the volume is kind of low on this video. That said, hey y'all, thank you for joining, and I am so excited to welcome the new people that have now subscribed. I want to just reintroduce myself really quickly. My name is Shanelle Harrison. I'm a professional visual artist, and I am an author and educator. And my goal has always been to provide content about my own experiences in the art world, navigating the art world, starting off as an artist into my emerging phase, going into the professional stage, and also hopefully provide a blueprint that I wish that I had when I was entering the art world. So this channel is for beginning artists, current artists, any artist that is looking for a space to understand and manifest the life that they want to live. That said, let's get into it. 3 reasons why I decided to go to art school. So I have my notes as always because I talk a lot. I'm from the South. It's a Southern thing. It might be a me thing. Who knows? But I'm trying to make sure that I'm giving you the most information in the least amount of time so that you can take it back and focus more time on creating in the studio. So I'm going to try to make this video 10 minutes. We'll see. Other videos that I've tried to make 10 minutes, they've ended up being 40 minutes. So make sure you go back and watch those, especially the ones that are talking about manifesting the life that you want to live as an artist and a creative. So 3 reasons I went to art school. I am going to start with the first one. Get my handy dandy notebook. So my first reason, access, okay? So what does that mean? I came from, my undergrad program was Morgan State University. I graduated from Morgan State University in 2019, okay? It was a 4-year program. In the process of me being there, I changed my major from nutritional sciences to visual art in 2017. So I haven't been doing art professionally for that long, but I've covered a lot of ground just based off of what I know as a person, but also what I've been wanting to do, and again, praying about and also manifesting as well. Why did I tell you that? Because Morgan State University had an amazing program. They had amazing faculty who really prepared me for entering the world as an artist and knowing who I am as a person and creating art, not solely from me being a Black person navigating the art world, but creating work that was meaningful to me and understanding my history so that I can move forward in whatever art space that I was in. And I really do believe that I needed that foundation to get started as an artist. So shout out to all of my Morgan State University professors, Briscoe, Magwood, DePaulo, Cadillo, God, I'm like naming names, Jones. So that said, I'm not gonna mention where I went to art graduate school, because I don't wanna be messy when I come back later and tell y'all about that experience and how to navigate, again, an art space or an art university, art school that does not have the tools necessary to help you when you're coming from a diverse background or telling your stories that are often very different from the status quo of that university. So that said, I wanted to be somewhere that was going to give me access. At Morgan State, while they have a great program, they are known for engineering. They're not known for visual art. So when I entered the art world as a visual artist, trying to get jobs, trying to go to shows, there wasn't as much access to resources through my school as there were just me going out and meeting other artists and networking and going to different events and trying to get my name out there, versus other art schools that are well connected in the art world or well connected with other artists who can push your art career forward without you having to do as much work and putting in as much effort as you would going to a school that doesn't have as many resources. So that being said, when I'm saying access, I'm talking about access to materials, access to jobs, access to grants that otherwise would not be available to you unless you went to that specific school, access to writers, people who are specific about how to write about your artwork, how to write your artist statements, business classes for artists. Like, those are the things that I feel like were missing in my curriculum when I was at Morgan State University. So one of the reasons I went back was to gain access to that. And I played a game. As much as y'all don't want to like hear this, the world is very black and white like that. That is why they have connections where it's like you can get a grant if you're in a diverse space, or if you are a diverse artist and otherwise very much marginalized and not represented in these spaces that don't always pay us or don't always want to hear our voices. I wanted access to a space that would provide me a boost as an artist. So yes, the reason I said I played a game is because the amount of attention that I got when I graduated from the art school that I went to, and I said I went to graduate art school, not undergrad. I think the rules are a little bit different. Like, I wouldn't pay the amount that it cost for 4 years in art undergrad, because I just feel like it's expensive, and there are other ways to get the same connections, especially if you go for graduate school, which is 2 years. But I went to art grad school in Michigan. So y'all probably know the school I'm talking about. Again, not going to name no names. But that said, the amount of attention, I've always been a great artist. I've always been very articulate. I've always been able to write very well. But the access that I was given being at that particular graduate school gave me access to people who were art collectors, who were able to spend a lot of money on artwork. It gave me access to the name itself, which is going to be my third point why I went to school, but why I went to art grad school. But it was mainly for access, and mainly to be able to put that on my resume and say, like, hey, I went here. And I guarantee you, like, there is a lot of opportunities I've gotten just based off of the strength that I went to that particular school, or because I knew someone in that environment and I networked with them. It was just a different experience than when I went to my undergrad. So again, I loved my undergrad experience. It made me who I am today. It made me the person that I have now transitioned to into the art world, etc. But I will say that if you're going to go to art school, let it be somewhere that's going to propel you forward and be able to give you those resources that you're paying for. Because if you're paying for college, that stuff is expensive. And I'm pro scholarship. I'm not pro out of pocket at all. Like, as somebody who's first generation college student, we didn't have it. So I had to get scholarships based on my merit. I had to write grants. So that said, don't just throw your hat into the range and just like say, I'm going to go to art school because this is going to make me a famous artist. Because I'm going to be realistic with you. And what's going to make you the famous artist is, of course, being somewhere that provides you the resources, but also the net that you're casting yourself by putting yourself out there and connecting with other people who can get you into those spaces that you're trying to get into. So I'm not going to sugarcoat nothing over here. All right. So that's number one, access. Number two, I wanted studio space and time. Okay. My grad program, I got 40 hours of studio time. I was working a full-time job. Like, that was my full-time job, being an artist for 2 years. And I want to say that I was going over 40 hours a week, 40 hours in a week, because I was always working. I was always in the studio late at night, up until, 7 a.m., which again, that's not a flex, that's insomnia. Okay. So studio time and space, it's no better time to work on your art than when you're in school, because when you get into the outside world, if you have to get a full-time job, part-time job, whatever, you're going to realize you don't have nearly as much time to be creative. There's a saying, there's actually an artist who penned this, and I cannot remember their name right now, but capitalism doesn't care about your creativity. And that is so true. Okay. Like, I work on my own studio stuff when I have time, meaning like if I have days off, or those of you that know, like, of course, there are so many other forms that you can be creative. Like if you're not actually in the studio painting or drawing or printing, whatever it is that you do, I love writing. That's my form of creating when I'm not able to get in the studio, and that works just fine for me. So not to mention, I actually just finished an ebook for y'all. It was my first ebook, yay me! But it is talking about how to unlock your creativity, how to unlock your artist, your inner artist. So that said, I told y'all I talk a lot, but with this book, I was only supposed to write 10 pages. It ended up being 52, y'all. Just because with my day job, I'm always on the road, so I get to just write when I'm not in the studio. So more info on that. It's an intro, 6 chapters, and a conclusion at the end. And it's a guide to just unlocking your inner artist. Because again, it's 2025. We're not trying to create with limits anymore. So if that's something that interests you, I'll leave the link below. But studio time and space. So if you're not able to get studio time, grad school is the place, or being in an art environment. I know that the everyday stressors of just like the artists who may be watching this saying like, I'm in school right now and I don't feel like I get time to create. I guarantee you, you're getting more time in school because you don't have as many responsibilities. Typically, again, I'm not talking about the outlier students that of course had family responsibilities, had bills. Like for me, I left a full-time job to go back to grad school, and I had bills. So like I had to get a job as well as being in school. So I was doing over 40 hours in the studio, but also with a part-time job. That was my second reason. I wanted a studio space. And in graduate school, I was able to have my own studio space. That was the first time I ever had a studio space, so I could make work, leave the work where it was, like when I needed to show it and exhibit. So that is what I needed. I needed space and time to think, to be creative, to push my boundaries as an artist, and to grow as an artist. That is the biggest thing. That was number 2. Again, I felt like I was sitting on a fire. Like I still am, but like I was a public school teacher prior to me going to grad school. I say I still am, like I'm not in public school, but I'm a teacher always, and I'm always an educator. But I was teaching for 2 years in Maryland, and I went back to graduate school, and I felt like I was sitting on this fire that I just had to get out of me, right? Like, you know, when you're in a space that you're not, like you feel fulfilled, but there's so much more you feel like you can do for the world, and there's so much more that you feel like you can do in the space that you are in now as a creative. And that's what I was feeling, and that was starting to get in the way of how I was showing up. And I did not want to be in a situation where I was sitting on my creativity and I needed to see how far I could go with this thing. So that is another reason. So access, studio space, and time. And again, in my little notebook. Number 3, respect. Respect, right? Put some respect on my name. So being a children's book author, being the kind of artist that wants to create community and speak about artwork and speak about my experiences, I wanted to be considered an expert in my field. And how do you be considered an expert in your field? How are you considered an expert in your field? You go to school, right? So as an artist, the terminal degree for your career is an MFA. Black women, we are in about 5 to 10% of us that have MFAs. We're in abundance when it comes to artists in general, but there are not a whole lot of Black women who have their Master of Fine Arts. So to add that to my CV, that was a big deal for me because I went through a lot in those 2 years. I went through a lot, I really did. And it sharpened me in a way that I know I needed to push forward. And in many ways, I sharpened people that was there, you know what I mean? Now, 5 to 10%, about 25%, and don't quote me on those numbers, of like Black artists in general that have their MFA, meaning the resources and the connections and the jobs that open up for you when you have an MFA are way different than if you don't have an MFA. So again, the respect thing. I had moments where I wanted to apply for other jobs, and I was qualified in the sense of I was a good artist. I had all the training. I had I had a lot of experience in the art world. I had shows, exhibitions, everything, but I did not have an MFA. So I was overlooked oftentimes when I was applying for jobs because somebody who may have been, I'm gonna say they were still qualified, but they may not have had as much experience as me with doing exhibitions and teaching classes, but they had an MFA, so they were the ones that were getting hired. And I didn't like that. To be quite honest, I felt like that was a barrier for me. And I don't like barriers. I don't like closed doors. I'm the person that if there's a door being closed, I'm going to make my own door. I'm going to come through the back. I am going to make my own space. So that said, that was another reason for me, was if I'm going to be teaching kids and teaching people, I want to be able to talk to them about a real life experience. I want to be able to connect with them and tell them what it is like on the other side. And I don't want to have a barrier, something like my degree, get in the way of a job that I potentially want, or someone offering me an opportunity and they're like, well, you need to have your MFA for this, right? And that's where, that gets into a whole nother conversation about how, the bar keeps getting raised every single time, right? You thought it was the BA, you thought it was the BFA, but no, you need your master's now. So those are the three reasons that I decided to go to art school, specifically graduate school. So access to resources, studio time and studio space, and the fact that I was sitting on a fire that I needed to get out. I had to see where my creative juices could flow. Okay. And 3, why do I have 4 fingers? 3, respect. Put some respect on my name. Okay. Black woman with an MFA. Okay. Anywho, so if this is relatable to you, or if you're a student or someone who has their BA, BFA, and you're trying to figure out, should I go to grad school? Should I go to art school? I hope this helps you understand with my reasonings, me sharing my story, some of the reasons that I went. And I can make another video much later to tell you how those experiences, or at least how my MFA has provided a foundation for me and the opportunities that have come out of me deciding to go back to school, because they have been great. They have been grand. It has been amazing. And I'm so glad that I went, regardless of the opportunities, or at least the situations, I would say, that have happened while I was in graduate school. I would not change it for one bit because of the access that it had given me, the studio space that it had given me, and the respect that it has put on my name. Cool. That said, subscribe, y'all. Leave a comment, and I will talk to y'all later.